lived in a small town surrounded by low hills and quiet fields. Every evening, the people in the town released sky lanterns that rose into the air. Each lantern was made of light paper with a small flame or warm air inside, so it floated like a balloon. Children grew up watching them, and everyone knew the lanterns were meant to bring a calm and peaceful end to the day. Liora liked to sit by her window and watch the lanterns drift across the sky. They moved slowly above the rooftops, above the creek, and sometimes so high that they looked like new stars. The glow from the lanterns rested on the roofs and the trees and made the valley feel like it was taking a long, deep breath. Liora had watched the lanterns almost every night since she was very young. She knew which neighbors released them the earliest and which family had the lanterns that always glowed a little brighter. Sometimes, she and her parents walked to the town square to see the lanterns being lit. Vendors sold warm drinks, and people spoke in quiet voices, as if they did not want to disturb the night. One evening, after a long day of school and chores, Liora felt more tired than usual. Her body was tired, but her mind felt full and busy. She finished her dinner, helped wash the dishes, then went to her room and sat by the window as she always did. The first few lanterns were already rising into the sky. She watched them climb higher and higher, their small lights steady and sure. The sound of voices from the street faded as people finished their conversations and slowly went home. Crickets began to sing in the grass. Somewhere in the distance, a dog barked once, then settled again. The lanterns seemed to move slower than usual that night. The sky was clear, and every small light had room to shine. She let her eyes follow one lantern as it drifted away from the others, carried by a soft breeze toward the hills. That was when she noticed a lantern floating lower than the rest. It was not strange, because sometimes the air changed and pushed one lantern down while others went higher. Still, this one caught her attention. It moved along the line of the path that led away from her house toward the fields. Liora felt like taking a walk. Her parents trusted her to walk along the familiar path near their home as long as she did not go too far. She put on her shoes, slipped on a light jacket, and went downstairs to the front door. "I am going to take a short walk and look at the lanterns," she told her mother. "Do not go too far," her mother replied. "Stay on the path and come back when you feel sleepy." "I will," Liora said. She stepped outside. The air was cooler than it had been during the day, but it was not cold. The path behind her house was easy to follow, even in the dim light. Small stones crunched softly under her feet. The lantern that had floated lower than the others was still ahead of her, moving in the same direction she was walking. Liora did not feel like she was chasing it. She simply walked at her own slow pace, and the lantern stayed in view, as if they both happened to be going the same way. She passed small gardens, and in front of her lay open fields and the shadowy shapes of the hills. The sky lanterns filled the air above her. Most of them were high and far, but their combined light gave the night a soft, even glow. The lantern ahead of her stayed lower, about as high as the top of a tall tree. Its light was warm and steady. After a few minutes, the path bent and led toward a meadow that Liora knew well from daytime walks. In the day, the meadow held wildflowers, tall grass, and a few scattered trees. Now, under the lantern lights, it looked different. The grass was a dark blanket, and the lanterns were like quiet stars resting just above it. Dozens of lanterns floated above the meadow. Each one had its own place and its own light. Some were golden, some pale blue, some with a soft pink tint, and some almost white. They did not rush or circle around. They moved slowly, in small lines and gentle curves. Liora stepped off the path and walked into the meadow. The grass brushed lightly against her legs. Liora chose a spot where the ground felt even and sat down. She pulled her knees up, wrapped her arms around them, and looked up. Above her, the lanterns hung at different heights, like someone had placed a careful pattern of lights in the air. Beyond them, higher and farther away, real stars shone in the clear sky. The town behind her looked small now. She could see a few rooftops and the faint glow of windows, but most of the light came from the lanterns over the field. She felt far enough away to be on her own, but close enough to know that home was not distant. Liora let her thoughts slow down. During the day, she thought about homework, lessons, friends, and plans. Here, under the lanterns, those thoughts stepped back, as if they were waiting quietly at the edge of the field. In their place came simpler thoughts. The feeling of the cool air on her cheeks, the smell of grass and earth, the soft sound of insects moving unseen nearby. She watched one lantern pass slowly in front of another, then drift apart again. The movement was so steady that it almost felt like nothing was happening, but the scene was always changing in small ways. Her grandmother's words came back to her. Many people release a lantern with a wish, her grandmother had once said. A wish for rest, hope, or comfort. Some wishes are simple. Some are very quiet, but they are all held with care. Liora wondered what kind of wishes were floating above her now. Maybe someone had wished for a good night of sleep after a long week. Maybe someone had wished for a friend to feel less worried. Maybe someone had wished for the strength to face a new day. She thought about her own wish. She did not want anything complicated. She did not want things to change in a big way. She only wanted the night to feel safe for anyone who was tired. She wanted people who lay awake, feeling restless, to feel a little more at ease. She rested her hands in her lap and closed her eyes for a moment. She did not speak her wish out loud. She simply held it in her mind, like holding a small star in her hand. Simple, clear, steady. When she opened her eyes again, nothing dramatic happened. The meadow was exactly as it had been. The lantern still moved slowly. The sky still held its quiet stars. But something inside her felt a little different. Not bigger or stronger, simply calmer. The wish she had shaped in her thoughts now felt settled, as if it had found a place to rest. For a moment, she thought that one of the lanterns above her glowed a bit brighter, but she could not be sure. It might have been a change in the breeze, or just the way her eyes adjusted to the light. The moment passed, and that was enough. Liora did not need a sign or anything special to happen. She knew that she had wished for something kind, and that itself felt right. She lay back on the grass so she could see more of the sky. The stalks rustled softly under her, and the earth felt firm and steady beneath her. Above her, lanterns and stars filled her view. Some of the lanterns seemed close enough to touch if she raised her hand. though she knew they were higher than they looked. Time moved slowly. Liora did not count the minutes. She let her breaths come and go at their own pace. She followed the path of one lantern with her eyes until it drifted out of sight, then picked a new one to follow. Sometimes she listened to the sounds around her, the subtle shift of the grass in the wind. Little by little, her body relaxed. Her shoulders loosened. Her arms and legs felt heavy and comfortable. The busy feeling in her mind faded. New thoughts did not rush in to take over. Instead, there was space, clear and quiet. After a while, the air grew cooler. Liora felt a small shiver along her arms and knew it was time to go home. She sat up slowly, took one last long look at the lanterns over the meadow, and stood. "Thank you," she thought, though she did not say it out loud and did not aim it at anything. It was a quiet thank you to the night itself, to the field, to the lights, and to the rest she had found. She walked back to the path. The lanterns continued to drift as she left the meadow behind. The lantern she had first watched was no longer easy to pick out among the others, but that did not bother her. They all shared the same sky. The walk to home felt shorter. She saw fewer lanterns overhead. Some had already drifted out of sight. A few still hung above the square and the nearby houses, but the number was shrinking as the night went on. When she reached her street, most windows were dark. A few still glowed with soft light. Someone closed the door in the distance. A cart rolled quietly over the stones. The world around her was winding down. Liora opened her front door and stepped inside. The house smelled faintly of the meal they had eaten earlier. The light in the hallway was dim. Her parents were in the living room speaking. "You are back," her mother said, smiling. "Did you enjoy your walk?" "Yes," Liora said. "I looked at the lanterns from the meadow." "That is a good place for them," her father replied. "It is a good place to think." Liora nodded. She did not try to explain everything she had felt. It did not need many words. Her parents could see from her face that she was calmer than she had been before. "Good night," they said. "Good night," Liora answered. She went to her room, changed into her sleep clothes, and brushed her teeth. Then she turned off the light and went to her bed. Before lying down, she went to the window one more time. Only a few lanterns were left in the sky now. Most of them were distant, small points of light near the horizon. The valley looked darker, but not empty. The shape of the hills was still there. The houses still stood. The world was resting. Liora got into bed and pulled her blanket up to her chin. The pillow felt soft under her head. She looked at the last lantern she could see from her window. It drifted slowly, following a path she could not predict, but also did not need to. She felt the same calm she had felt in the meadow return to her. The wish she had made still felt present, not as words, but as a gentle weight in her chest, steady and warm. Her eyes grew heavier. The lantern outside her window moved lower and finally slipped out of view behind a hill. Liora closed her eyes. She knew the lanterns would rise again on another evening. She knew the meadow would still be there. She knew that when her thoughts became busy again, she could remember this night and let the memory steady her. With those simple thoughts in mind, she allowed herself to rest. The town, the hills, the lanterns and the sky all settled into quiet. Liora drifted into sleep.